¡Qué puta barbaridad!
Anegada, no hay paso peatones, está entrando en regalos Jesús.
Today, two cities on opposite ends of Spain found themselves overwhelmed by the same invisible force, extreme fast-moving rainfall. In Badalona, just northeast of Barcelona, and in Águilas along Spain's southeastern coast, torrential downpours transformed ordinary streets into torrents within minutes, catching residents and commuters off guard. What began as heavy rain escalated rapidly into urban flash flooding, submerging roads, disrupting transportation, and triggering emergency rescues. Rainfall rates surged so quickly that drainage systems had little time to respond. In Badalona, water rushed through neighborhoods, spilling into ground floor homes, businesses, and transit infrastructure. In Águilas, normally dry ravines suddenly roared to life, channeling floodwater straight toward the city and the sea. Vehicles stalled, roads vanished beneath moving water, and emergency lines lit up as conditions deteriorated. Officials stressed that this was not a slow-building storm, but a sudden, high-impact event where minutes made the difference between safety and danger. As authorities mobilized across both regions, one reality became clear. This storm was testing not just infrastructure, but preparedness, awareness, and public response in real time. In Badalona, the intensity of the rainfall overwhelmed the city in a matter of minutes. Water poured down sloped streets toward low-lying districts, transforming sidewalks and intersections into fast-moving streams. In some neighborhoods, floodwater rose from curb level to knee height before residents fully realized what was happening. Cars stalled mid-road as engines flooded, while others were pushed sideways by the force of the current. Public transportation quickly became one of the first systems to fail. Sections of the metro and commuter rail network serving the Barcelona metropolitan area were partially suspended after water-infiltrated tunnels and station platforms. Bus routes were rerouted or halted altogether as underpasses filled and visibility dropped. Traffic congestion spread across the city as drivers slowed to a crawl or abandoned vehicles in unsafe locations. Emergency officials issued urgent warnings, stressing that even shallow water can be life-threatening. Open storm drains displaced manhole covers, and unseen debris created hidden hazards beneath the surface. Authorities expressed particular concern for underpasses and parking garages where water can rise rapidly and trap people without warning. Scenes captured across Badalona showed floodwater spilling into homes and storefronts, damaging electrical systems and forcing residents to move belongings to higher ground. Ground floor businesses were hit hardest with merchandise soaked and power shut off as a precaution. Municipal crews worked continuously to clear clogged drains, but ongoing rainfall limited how quickly water could recede. By midday, officials warned that any additional rainfall could worsen conditions as saturated ground and overwhelmed drainage systems left the city vulnerable to renewed flooding. While Badalona battled urban flooding, the coastal city of Águilas faced a different but equally dangerous threat: flash floods, racing through normally dry ravines. Within a short window early in the morning, intense rainfall overwhelmed the natural channels surrounding the city. According to local hydrological data, roughly 1 inch of rain fell in less than 90 minutes, an extreme concentration for the area, Ravines such as Los Culebra surged with muddy water, sending powerful flows through road crossings and toward the Mediterranean Sea. Streets near the city center became impassable as water spilled across asphalt, carrying debris and reducing visibility. Several key routes were shut down as emergency crews worked to prevent vehicles from entering flood-prone zones. The speed of the flooding led to multiple rescues. 3 people were pulled from vehicles after becoming trapped by rising water, including 2 workers rescued along a regional road when runoff cut off their escape. Another driver was assisted after panicking and stopping in an unsafe location as water closed in. Officials emphasized that none of the rescues were due to reckless behavior, but rather the sudden escalation of conditions. City authorities noted that no weather warning was active at the exact moment the storm intensified, highlighting how localized storms can develop faster than alerts. Emergency services remained on high alert, monitoring riverbeds and drainage channels in case renewed rainfall triggered another surge. As waters slowly drained toward the sea, officials warned residents that the danger was not over. With ground fully saturated, even moderate additional rain could reactivate flash flooding, placing the city back into emergency conditions with little notice. As floodwaters spread across both regions, the strain on urban infrastructure became increasingly visible. In Badalona, storm drains and underground channels designed for far lighter rainfall volumes quickly reached capacity. Water backed up through grates and manholes, flooding streets from below, while surface runoff poured in from above. In several districts, electrical crews were forced to shut down power to prevent short circuits and fire hazards in flooded buildings. Transportation infrastructure proved especially vulnerable. Rail operators temporarily suspended segments of metro and commuter lines after water entered tunnels and station access points, forcing thousands of commuters to seek alternate routes. On the surface road, closures multiplied as underpasses filled rapidly, trapping vehicles and complicating emergency access. City officials prioritized keeping corridors open for fire and medical services even as civilian traffic was restricted. In Águilas, the challenge centered on road crossings and drainage channels near ravines. Several regional roads were closed after runoff undermined shoulders and deposited debris across lanes. Municipal engineers inspected bridges and culverts for erosion damage, warning that structural weakening can occur even after water recedes. Cleanup crews worked to remove sediment and restore drainage flow, but persistent moisture slowed progress. Across both cities, authorities acknowledged a broader issue. Infrastructure built for past climate patterns is being pushed beyond its limits. Short-duration, high-intensity rainfall events are delivering volumes of water in hours that systems were designed to handle over days. Officials cautioned that until upgrades are made, similar storms will continue to pose serious risks, especially in dense urban environments and flood-prone corridors.
Anegada, no hay paso peatones, está entrando en regalos Jesús.
As floodwaters began to recede in some areas, the economic consequences of the storm quickly came into focus. In Badalona, dozens of small businesses, cafes, retail shops, and neighborhood services were forced to close after water-flooded ground floor interiors. Inventory was damaged, electrical systems were compromised, and cleanup costs mounted rapidly. For many independent business owners, even a short shutdown represents a serious financial blow, especially during peak operating days. Delivery networks were also disrupted. Flooded streets and closed transit routes delayed shipments and cut off access to commercial districts, creating ripple effects across the local economy. Municipal officials warned that total losses could reach several $million once infrastructure repairs, business interruptions, and emergency response costs are fully assessed. In Águilas, the focus shifted toward damage inspections and recovery planning. Flooded roadways, eroded shoulders, and debris-filled drainage systems required urgent evaluation before normal traffic could resume. Agricultural access roads near ravines were temporarily unusable, raising concerns about delayed transport and equipment damage if additional rain returns. Public safety officials emphasized that human behavior remains the most critical risk factor. Despite repeated warnings, some residents attempted to cross flooded streets on foot or by vehicle. Authorities stressed a key statistic: just 12 inches of fast-moving water can carry away a car, while far less can knock an adult off balance. Hidden dangers, open drains, displaced manhole covers, and submerged debris make floodwaters especially lethal. Meteorologists warned that with soils fully saturated, any additional rainfall could trigger renewed flooding. Until the weather pattern stabilizes, officials say communities remain in a high-risk window where economic recovery and public safety hang in a fragile balance.
Mira. La puta madre.
As conditions worsened, emergency response systems in both cities shifted into full crisis mode. Firefighters, civil protection units, police, and medical teams worked continuously responding to flooded homes, stranded motorists, and blocked access routes. In Badalona, rescue crews focused on low-lying neighborhoods and underground infrastructure, where rising water posed the greatest risk to life and property. In Águilas, emergency responders faced rapidly changing conditions along ravines and road crossings. The speed of the flooding left little room for error-forcing teams to act within minutes to reach trapped individuals. Authorities confirmed that all rescued individuals were stabilized without life-threatening injuries, a result officials credited to swift coordination and early intervention. Community resilience became a defining element of the response. Residents shared real-time updates through local networks, helped neighbors move vehicles and belongings to higher ground, and checked on elderly or mobility-limited individuals. Municipal coordination centers worked to centralize information, ensuring that warnings, road closures, and safety instructions reached the public quickly. Despite these efforts, officials warned that fatigue among emergency crews is a growing concern. Continuous operations strain personnel and equipment, especially when storms arrive in rapid succession. Authorities urged residents to avoid unnecessary travel and non-emergency calls, allowing responders to focus on the most critical situations. Meteorologists offered a sobering assessment. Saturated ground and stressed drainage systems mean that the margin for safety remains extremely narrow. Even a modest burst of rain could overwhelm defenses once again. Officials emphasize that preparedness does not end when the rain stops, it continues until the threat fully passes.
Mira eso. ¡Es el puente! Tío! Madre mía, qué angustia. ¡Qué angustia, macho!
As floodwaters slowly withdraw from streets and ravines, officials across both regions are delivering a clear and urgent message. This event is not finished yet. With soil fully saturated and drainage systems already strained, even moderate rainfall in the coming hours or days could reignite flooding with little warning. The danger now lies not only in what has happened, but in what could happen next. Authorities continue to urge residents to remain alert, avoid flooded zones, and follow official guidance without hesitation. Roads that appear passable may still be undermined, and standing water can conceal serious hazards beneath the surface. Checking on vulnerable neighbors, especially those living in ground-floor housing, remains a critical part of community safety. For a broader audience, the flooding in Badalona and Águilas highlights a growing reality. Short, intense rainfall events are becoming more frequent and more destructive. Urban environments with dense infrastructure and limited drainage capacity are especially exposed. These storms test not just emergency systems, but public awareness and readiness. As recovery begins, the focus turns to lessons learned, improving early warning systems, reinforcing drainage networks, and adapting cities to a changing climate. Staying informed can save lives. If this report helped you understand the risks, like, share, and subscribe for continued coverage of major weather events. Awareness is the first line of defense.